All right, roll call. Mr. Rene Ramirez.
Here.
Ms. Susan Fogian.
Here.
Mr. John Hayes.
Here.
Mr. Brad Beach.
Present.
And myself, Joel Kramer. All 5 members are present. We have a full quorum. Subject B, adoption of the agenda. Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. The only recommendation I have is that the executive session that is listed as our first item will be at 6 p.m. So I'd like to just table that until, so whatever we are at on the agenda, that we would then pause and then go up at 6 p.m. into executive session.
We read the superintendent's report. All right, with that said, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda with the so-called correction or addition to the 6 p.m.?
Mr. President,
Yes.
move to approve the agenda as recommended and allow the president to deviate as necessary.
Second. With that said, any other comments? No? All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass 5-0. Adoption of agenda. Call to the public.
No calls to the.
We have no calls to the public. All right. So we're skipping that. We're going then right to presentations, correct, Mr. Verdugo?
Yes, that would be
So
correct.
number 3 would be bond project update.
So I think today we have Mr. Brian Crawford here from KDM and Jennifer Olson will be sharing the monthly update of where we're at with the fund.
Good evening, members of the Governing Board. Thank you for having us here tonight. We are here once again to provide you with the monthly update for the bond projects that are going on in Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District. I'm Jennifer Weskelnies, principal with ADM Group, and with me is Brian Crawford, architect and project manager with ADM.
Thank you.
I'd like to start off this evening by giving you a small recap. Last month when we were here, you asked a little bit about what ADM Group has been doing for the district in regards to project management services. Actually, I think you asked who is the project manager on the jobs, and we are. And so I'd like to just recap a little bit about all of these services that we have been providing for the district, along with the actual individual projects themselves. So we have been working with the district since about March 2020 on the project management services. And I'm going to go through a few of the things. So we've been working very closely with Ms. Brown and Mr. Verdugo on the bond tracker, what we call the bond tracker. And this is the document that tracks all of the projects that are identified for year 1 and year 2 of the bond sale. So we've been keeping track of all those projects, managing how much they cost when things come over budget, figuring out where we can shift funds and other line items, etc. We've also been highly involved in all the preparation and review of any RFQs, which stands for Request for Qualifications, and IFBs, which is information for bid. And those are the formal ways that the projects go out on the street to the public and all the contractors to do a formal bid for projects. In addition to that, we have been involved with direct coordination with vendors on 1GPA and Mojave for project procurement as well. We have been involved in asbestos abatement oversight, demolition oversight, construction oversight for all of the projects as well. Managing the project schedules, and finally also helping and assisting Ms. Brown with SFB coordination on several different projects. These are the projects that are going on at the Rio Rico High School that are coming up, fire alarm replacements, and roofing replacements. So those are some of a recap of all the different things that we've been working on in addition to each individual project. Okay, Brian's going to give you a little update on where we're at with some of our bond projects now.
Yeah, some of the bond projects that are completed now is reducing drastically, which is great as we finish off all of the bond sale one items. So this is PAC, which is gonna have their new ribbon cutting on Thursday, and using the space already as the principal, Hector Estrada, is moving kids in. Right here you see the new concession portion. That was an addition to the existing trophy area and Hall of Fame Center. Which one is it? This is a shot of the new lobby that's going in. This is already a week old, so we already have the furniture which you see wrapped up there that's already been unpacked and installed, and several other items have been taken care of in the meantime, as well as the new toilet rooms, the men's, women's, and family toilets. A couple other shots. This is of the corridor which flanks the new PAC, the Performing Arts Center. This, I believe, is the east side, and there's also one on the opposite side to the west. On the picture to the right, you see the new makeup rooms with all their lights turned on and everything. This has an outboard partition, so we can close it off into two, or they can keep it open for one big makeup space. Again, furniture is there now and it has been unpacked. As well as a good shot of the interior of the space. This is the new Performing Arts seating area. And this is with the bleachers fully retracted. You see the sound booth at the top of that. This is all motorized, so it'll all come out, go back very easily, and quite a few seats there. And then this is a shot of looking at the performing arts area there, the stage. Unfortunately, got a little bit too much lighting in the background, but it gives you a good idea with all the equipment going up at the top. All of the the curtains and everything have been placed now, and looks really, really great. Okay, so at the last meeting last month, we discussed some of the information from, in lieu of the liquidated damages. We worked together with SD Crane and got the Rio Rico High School involved as well to receive a donation. So currently we have been in communication with the two groups. We have some new information to give you. I think Mr. Estrada is here to do a little bit of presenting.
It's a blank slide, so you're going to unveil for us what you've been talking about.
Yeah. So I know that there was a update, a few board meetings ago in regards to SD Crane and their donation, right? And so I've worked with SD Crane regarding the communication, and I'm not an expert in stagecraft, theater, and all that stuff, so I met with our fine arts team.
You should look like it.
Right? I'll pull it off for as long as possible. But and so I'm working with Ms. Carrasco, who's our new theater teacher, and Mr. Coulter, our new band teacher, to come up with the right equipment that we need. So $10,000 is a good amount, right? That's kind of what we're ballparking around. And so Ms. Carrasco, I've actually been in contact with her theater director from the U of A, because what we're looking at providing SD Crane is a stage management console, which allows for communication amongst all of the players that would run a production. It would also include infrared cameras, so when the theater is black, as it's getting ready to be staged, those individuals moving back and forth on stage can see through the infrared camera on the screen. So we're asking for, and I'll be sharing this information when I want to give an update, a stage management console which includes infrared cameras, which also includes screens, so the kids can see the screens of what's going on when it's dark in the area. One of the reasons for the delay on our end, aside from waiting with our partner, is we just recently been in there, and the sound was finalized last week, I believe. And so with them being able to see what sound equipment's in there now and what the infrastructure is, adding that stage management console. So that's what we're looking to pursue. And like I said, I've been in contact with SD Crane, so they're aware. We're just finalizing on our end, so that's where we're at with that. Really, really exciting. So we're excited for Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hector.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Also underway and still ongoing, we have the new football fields and the field improvements down there. As you may have seen, the football field is in place. They've been watered today for the field, for the football game. Got a powder puff game scheduled for tomorrow, I believe. And then, of course, your first game for homecoming on Friday. So that's exciting news, and congratulations. A couple more shots of the football field. And then I think now we move into what is still ongoing. This is the track. We have concrete curb around the track. And as of today, they have also the ground and ready to go for the asphalt paving, which is super exciting. Again, a quick recap on some of the scheduled events coming up that we were shooting for. The one that we are now pursuing is November 4th, having that running path for the cross country around the athletic complex is to be done next. As well as November 19th, the dugouts and batting cages. November 29th, the track and all the practice fields and all of those track and field events. And then, of course, December 7th, having the tennis courts completed. So, moving forward. All right.
Another item that we briefly presented last month, I should say, was the rain tabulation data. And Mr. Hayes, you had specifically asked us a couple questions on where we had gotten the data from. So I just wanted to give you an update on a little more in-depth update on that. We did pull that specific data from the National Weather Service, NOAA. The specific gauge is about 2 miles south of here. This data here shows the pin in the map where that is at. The little spreadsheet in the upper left corner is a more complete tabulation from what we had shown you last time, since the rainy season is now over. And it basically just, from that specific gauge, was measuring just under 16 inches for the season, when from that gauge the seasonal average was a little over 8 inches. So even if that gauge wasn't specifically where we are, I guess it's kind of hard to argue that we didn't get a lot of rain this season. So we did want to follow up with the data, just to give you a little more specific on that information. And finally, the final bond project that we have that's waiting to start is the security project. And we are working again with Ms. Brown and Mr. Verdugo on potentially finding some funds from an alternate source for this project. And if that is successful, then the funding that was allocated for year 1 bond sale for this project will be able to move to year 2 and help fund those projects there, because we have a lot of projects and not quite enough money. So we're working on funding for all those projects as well. Again, this is the summary of the bond tracker that I mentioned, our in-progress bond projects. We're going to be able to close out many of these this month as they have wrapped up, and then finally the completed bond projects. And we are excited to start moving into year 2 of the bond sale very shortly here. And that is the end of my presentation. Any questions?
Mr. Beach,
No questions.
Ms. Logan,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Hayes,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Ramirez.
I have none, thank you.
I just have, I guess, one question. The board is fine with, you saw the donation, correct? That was 67% of what it was. I'm not sure that's on. Yeah? Good. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
You can go ahead and stay up.
Stay?
Yeah. The next item.
Next on the.
Yeah, I'm sorry. To clear this. All right, where we at? Rio Rico High School fire alarm presentation. Again, Mr. Rudo, and Brian and John.
Yeah, so, as we continue through this construction process, there's been delays for a lot of reasons. So the supply chain is probably one of the biggest issues that has hit our country, specifically in construction. So there is a request to, similar to the SD Cream, but a little bit different. I think we're coming forward, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jennifer and Brian.
Okay. speak to this a little blindly because I don't have a graphic to go with it, but I know you guys have the letter as part of your packet. Brief explanation of it all. Essentially, when the invitation for bid originally came out for the project, there was a date published within that information for bid. When the contractors submitted their bids for the project, we asked them to also submit schedules. And at that point, Benson Systems was the low bid for the fire alarm project at Rio Rico, and they did include a schedule in their bid. The schedule was not date specific, but it did have weeks outlined. In the letter that I prepared for you, I did translate that into actual dates based on when the PO was issued. And how that translated out was essentially, thank you.
Thanks.
If you want to scroll down just a little bit more. So yes, so basically how it translated out was that the substantial completion date would translate to November 5th, 2021. Because we have had the supply chain notifications, basically Benson Systems have been working on throughout the whole high school, getting all the infrastructure, the devices installed, and what is missing is the actual brain of the system, the notifier panel itself that will go in the front office. We started talking, I think in August was when Honeywell first notified of potential delays, and as of right now, we've been told that the ship date is December 17th-ish.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
After it ships, it could take potentially 3 or 4 weeks to get here. Once it gets here, pending it doesn't get lost in holiday traffic around that time, we're probably looking at close to beginning of January. They will then need several more weeks to install that panel and hook up all the devices, do the testing. So as a result of all that, we are asking for an extension of substantial completion through the end of March 2022. The other thing that we have done as a part of this extension is the school currently right now is on fire watch. Whenever a fire alarm system is down, the school needs to be on fire watch, which essentially there is a dedicated person that walks around the school and keeps an eye out for any trouble. So because now the system will not be up potentially until March, that Benson system needed to continue to pay this person. This was an SFB funded project, so we have already gone back to the SFB, requested a change order in the amount that was required for that extension of Firewatch, and we did find out last week from the SFB that has been approved. So that is good. There's no additional cost to the district for extending that Firewatch. We have asked for the date of March 31st with the anticipation and hope that the fire alarm will be done before that, but we wanted to mitigate having to come back to you multiple times asking for further permission for extension of the date. So that is a summary of our request to the board for extension of substantial completion for the Rio Rico fire alarm project.
Ms. Foley, any questions?
No, thank you for pushing it through to SFB. It sounds like it's been taken care of. Thank you.
Sweet.
Yeah, with the Firewatch, can the building still be used?
Absolutely. It's the building's being used right now in Firewatch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just instead of a working fire alarm, you have a dedicated person that's walking around looking for signs of any trouble.
Thank you. That's it.
And that falls on security and the team so that they have a record daily of going around to make sure that they're observing.
Great.
One question. Seems that you said that the new ship date is December 17th?
That is the date that we know at this time.
So it's slipped another 3 days from the email from September 28th, which said the 14th.
Okay, I probably misspoke.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure, because one of the questions I was going to ask is, do we have a hard follow-up, a hard ship date, a hard commitment date from Honeywell on when they will ship, or is it?
The last documentation that we received from Honeywell, if you scroll through another couple pages, is in the letter. There's a copy of the email.
Right.
This is right here, right there. This was the last hard confirmation that we got from Honeywell, and it's dated, it's inserted right there, it says December 14th. We have not heard that it's any later or any earlier than that at this point. And we had a meeting this afternoon and there were
And they had
no updates to this, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, I'm not too smitten by this whole idea of us missing deadlines, despite the fact that we have these problems. I mean, when you walked into this situation, you walked in wide-eyed, with your eyes wide open to it. So part of me understands and feels for you, but then on the other hand, when we sit here as a governing board with deadlines and with contracts, we are very tough about that with our own within this institution. And so I just want to say that I'm not too thrilled about that, missing these deadlines. That's not on us again. And with regard to these people that come in, who's paying for this, for these people to come in and do this fire watch?
This whole project is an SFB funded project, School Facilities Board. So it's money, it's a project that the school district petitioned the School Facilities Board to pay. So the School Facilities Board is paying for the entire fire alarm replacement. And that is also who we solicited for the additional services to pay for the extended fire watch.
Right. I'll just bring you back to the fact that in this institution, when people don't meet deadlines or when they break contracts, we issue liquidated damages. And I don't like to see us have a double standard, one for our own and one for people outside of our institution. Thank you.
Yes, well, I'm glad we have Fire Watch, and the School Facilities Board is picking up that tab, correct?
Correct.
And with that said, under the International Fire Codes of 2012, which the state of Arizona follows still, why they haven't adopted, I guess the legislature doesn't want to go there. But under that code, that person, when I heard Mr. Badoo said security guards, that under the codes, it's supposed to be, that's their sole job.
Yes.
They're not doing anything else but fire watch.
Correct. At one point, it
I
was.
mean, it's an 8-hour, we're open from what time to what time of the high school?
It's actually 24
24
hours.
hours.
24 hours a day.
We've got somebody there at nighttime, week 365,
Yes.
24/7.
And I don't mean that
Yes.
they're doing the fire, but they're
Yes.
assisting with that.
And this is a person that Benson Systems has employed. It's not a district employee.
Correct.
It is not a security guard or anything. It is a specific person hired specifically for the task.
Because
of
that
fire
person has
watch.
been trained by that
Correct.
organization.
Yes.
And what I meant was that in addition to that person, that security continues to grow.
Okay,
It's a
well,
large
you
campus.
see, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that throws the whole thing to a positive. Because that's what it should be.
Yes.
If you, yes, and that's very good. So that alleviates my concern on that one. And I'll go back to what Mr. Ramirez said and what we had done with SD Crane as far as contracts. You said, so there was no set date for this completion, correct? You said that generally speaking, it was just in timelines of weeks, but there was no set date when Rio Rico High School was gonna have their fire alarm system ready in operation.
In the actual contract that was signed, there was not a set date. It was just the open-ended weeks
Right,
schedule.
and I was getting that from the letter, which it said probably about November 5th,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So after November 5th, it's not gonna be completed, obviously, because that's what you said.
Mhm.
So is there now a gray area again of, they didn't complete it on the gray area of possibly completion?
That's what this decision, I guess, is, they're clarifying and cleaning up that there is no gray area. The contract essentially translated to a November 5th deadline. We are unable to make that deadline due to supply chain issues, and we are formally asking for the new substantial completion date to be set at March 31st.
Right.
Currently, they are moving, progressing, they are staying on task. We just know that we will not have the final components until that ship date of 12/14 and then installation and all that stuff.
And we held SD Crane to a standard of, you didn't get done on this date,
Right.
this is what you're going to have to, and it says $750 in this every day.
Mhm.
That's a big chunk of change from November to March. That's about 70,000. And if we're gonna go, I'd even figure in weekend days, that's a lot of money. Now, as the school facilities board, are they telling us it's okay? As a board, we should just say it's okay? Just let them give that completion? Are they getting input into us or suggesting for us to agree to this?
The school facilities board does not really comment on that
Right.
at all. They
So
don't.
back to us again, the five of us, which we held SD Crane to a standard of, you didn't complete, this is what we expect.
I think the difference to point out is that with SD Crane, we did have a substantial completion date that we were working towards the whole time. And it did slip by a little bit, and that's what we talked about last time. In this case, if the fire alarm panel was available, and it is not, there's just no physical way for them to complete their job. If the equipment was available, we wouldn't be having this
Oh,
conversation.
of course, right. I mean, we would have had the same conversation with SD Crane if that would have been available too. I mean, it's falling in this whole business realm right here. But it goes back to us as a board of our standard of holding people accountable to contracts. We expect our professional and our certified teachers to fall under the same guidelines of, if you do not follow the contract, this is the repercussions of that. And I think that was kind of discussed last time with SD Crane. You're asking us as a board then to understand, understand certainly why containers are being not done well over in LA, Long Beach or whatever, why everything's being backed up. I understand all that. But again, we gotta look as a district is, if we do this, then where do we say what's right and what's wrong? Do we hold this person accountable, but you know what, this one, no, it's okay, we're gonna waive this time. I mean, that's my point.
Yeah, I think the substantial difference is they do have a fire watch. The facility is being used as compared to the last contract where the project was put on hold and you couldn't use the facility. But, you know, there is a little bit of difference here. And I can see their point as far as the delays are concerned. My main thing was, is the building being used? And because of the fire watch, and it is, so, you know.
Good points. I'm just bringing up points. I'm just saying what we do as a board when we hold people accountable.
Right.
And you brought in a very good point. Just like teachers, when they come in front of us and say, I'm moving here, I have a life thing, I have there. We're still holding contracts. And we're judged on that as a board. What we do as a board on contracts. Mr. Reeves.
May I also point out, though, on contracts that we do occasionally, on those personnel matters, waive those consequences when it is an issue beyond the person's control, such as the medical issue or certain life issues that they have absolutely no control over. And I fail to see how, unfortunately, how in this project, the company had any control over the manufacturer not being able to manufacture its product.
I'm disagreeing. I'm just bringing out the obvious of what we're looked at in contracts. I'm not saying about the intangibles, and certainly I'm not disagreeing. It's voting.
I think you said most of what I would say, but there is a big difference in a contract of a teacher not being fulfilled compared to what we're facing with the backlog of receiving in equipment. I just am not seeing the comparison. And we are not, again, we're having a fire watch, we're being taken care of. We are not diminished because of this lack, other than not having completed it when we wanted to. And as a board, we've been a little arbitrary on the matter of waiving liquidated damages.
Yes, we have.
So I just don't see the strong comparison.
Oh, I wasn't comparing. Well, just analogy, I'm just bringing up statements of how, what people look at. I'm not saying Joel Kramer, I'm just saying what people perceive. And if we're good with that perception, that's where I just wanted to bring that up.
So this is an action item, so.
Right, no, yeah, I mean, it's still, it's, you know, it's a contract, yes?
Well, I like to bring back that way. Even if we don't discuss liquidated damages with teachers and their contracts. Mr. President made a good point with regard to SD Crane. We held them to one standard, and I'd like to see us hold people to double standards, whether it's within our institution or even in business in dealing with this. That is on a bigger scale.
I mean, we can go on and on, so we all have our opinions. We all understand supply chain, we understand what's going on with the government, we all understand what's going on politically, how some it's just because they make it political. I understand all that. I'm not being naive to any of this. I'm just bringing up how it's perceived at times.
I'll tell you what I don't like is that why do we have these dates and things if we're not going to honor them? Why? What's the purpose of that then? We have one set of rules for one people and another set of rules for others.
Well, we're going to have to understand the supply chain is going to be this way for a while. We've already been told by our leadership, from starting with the president. This is going to be for a while, at least. And Yellen said it yesterday till end of 2022, when she was reporting to about the stock market and such. Nevertheless, she said 2022, end of it. So then I guess the contracts that we have from this point forward, working with you guys, kind of arbitrary. We just have to say, yeah, we might get it, we might not, because we have to understand there's going to be a supply chain that's not going to be there.
Now, we are pushing them to try to hit these deadlines, and again, if we didn't have that problem, we would hit that with this project. But yeah, we do keep the substantial completion and completion dates in your best interest, and we try to push them as hard as we can to get those achieved. So,
But if they don't, because we got to expect it,
yes, I understand your point.
I'm just repeating what was said yesterday.
Well, Mr. President, to point out, point of fact also is that at the time when these contracts were initially signed, we didn't have the supply chain problem yet. It was a possibility, but it wasn't a reality. Now it's a reality. Now it would behoove us or our representatives who are making those contracts to keep that in mind when they're negotiating those contracts. So I think the comparison of what we know now versus what we didn't know then is not necessarily a fair one in the I'm just asking questions game.
In your opinion, yes.
SD Crane itself on the same standard.
And I think that when we move forward with the second bond projects, we'll have to look at those dates much more in depth. So, thank you.
All right, this is an action item, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the extension of request of substantial completion date for the Riverville High School fire alarm upgrade as presented? I'll do a roll call vote on this one. Ms. Fobian?
Aye.
Mr. Beach?
Aye.
Did we have a second?
Oh, we didn't have a second.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't even have a motion.
I know, sorry. I was just getting into it. All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, now we're going to do a roll call vote. Sorry, thank you. Ms. Fobian?
Aye.
Mr. Beach?
Aye.
Mr. Hayes?
Aye.
Mr. Ramirez?
Nay.
And I will abstain. So passed 3-1.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, moving on. So Dexo update.
Thank you. This has been an item on our future topics, and so I'd like to invite Mr. Scott Peters to come up. And I think he also has a supervisor here to give an update on Sodexo. I know that there was some questions when we initially approved the contract, so Mr. Peters has that information. And also, just before Mr. Peters starts, I, as a superintendent, have had a long history with our Sodexo supervisors, and I want to commend Mr. Peters for lasting, because we went through 7, I believe, before he stayed. And not only has he stayed, but he's also moved into our community. So I think that that's a very big positive as we look at our partnership. So I went over to Mr. Peters.
Yes, I'm Scott Peters, I'm the GM for Sedesco. This is Billy Goldsmith, he's our DM for the whole district. He's come down to talk with us during this time. I'm going to do a quick presentation, kind of like maybe a July till September, kind of what we've been doing, where we're going, where we're heading, the type of presentation. Let's see here.
Yeah, still right click, the right one.
Right one?
There you go.
Technology challenge.
Yeah.
So we'll have to be
Thank
careful.
you.
Got a teacher. Some of our monthly highlights. The school's opened on time, even with the construction projects. As you can hear, we have tons of construction projects going on. At the time of school opening, we had 8 going on. The new CMS system was school dude installed and operating at July 1st, 2021. We've been putting in HVAC assets and PM schedules. Right now, I've got about 500 assets in there. We put them in manually. Putting PM schedules in there, trying to get them all, to where they come up automatically, and our guys go out and do that automatically. We added 2 key positions, hired a custodial manager, HVAC tech, which was very challenging during this time. As you know, a lot of people are not working, so to get 2 good people here was challenging, and we did. I've got 2 really strong candidates, or 2 good people here. All staff retrained, clean, sanitize, disinfecting, sterilizing protocols because of COVID. That's the biggest thing here is touch points, bathrooms, everything that has to do with COVID has to be cleaned constantly. One of our biggest highlights is getting these people to learn to train, to be able to clean it the way we should get it with COVID for CDC, which was kind of tough at first because it is an extra step, a lot of extra steps. And no open staff positions right now. All my staff are filled. Matter of fact, I hired a backup today, which is one big hard thing to do because when we have someone who goes on vacation, you don't have a backup. You have other people working. So right now, we just hired a person today. That's going to be our backup, which was exciting because that was tough to do too. That was a very good hunt.
And I would add, just to add to that, I actually represent the western region of the United States, and I will tell you, this is probably the only district right now that we're fully staffed in. Everywhere else, we're open 5, 10, 15, 20 positions, depending on the accounts and their proximity to the metropolitan area. So you guys have done a great job in retaining these folks, and we didn't lose anybody through the COVID epidemic, right? I think we had one person that retired. She was pregnant, I believe, and just decided that she wanted to do something a little bit different. So understood that. So.
Some of our challenges that we have daily, managing several bond-related construction projects, like I said, the sports field, PAC, several roofing projects which are now starting. Calabasas is almost done. We'll be moving on to the roof projects over at the high school next, which is going to be challenging since we have 2 construction companies bashing heads there because we're building 3 buildings also. So now we have to stage a roof company and a building construction company, which has been tough. Trying to find spots up there it's not a big area for that to do parking, kids, everything. Weed control due to the record-setting monsoon season. This was rough. We had weeds that we had them in 1 week. This field here, which was the old practice field we call, which will need a new track and field, within 1 week they were 4 feet high. Those are the tough things that we're having. Still working on those. We're cleaning up weeds all over the place. Along the side of the stadium here, we've got that all cleaned up. We're working our way down into the stadium area now. Supply chain delays and shortages. It is becoming an issue. We are way ahead of it. I'm talking with my staff on petroleum products. It's becoming a problem. Plastic bags and gloves, huge problem. I'm right now at a month. They're saying that before we get those type of things. We ordered a month and a half ahead of time. So I have a month and a half on hand. I'm going to try to keep it a half month ahead of them, and we're going to keep calling them constantly every 2 weeks and seeing where we're at. So if it gets to 2 months, we'll be 2.5 months out. So that's what we're trying to do now. So that's been a real challenge for us at the time, as we're speaking. Managing additional COVID cleaning without adding additional staff. That was one of our major challenges. I think we did good on that. I think a lot of people At first it was tough, because it's hard to realize that you gotta clean a door handle every half hour, or a bathroom every hour. I mean, so you gotta keep after that, and we've got it to a point where I've gotten, they carry a rag in their back pocket, carry a little spray with them, and they hit it. Talking to Lucas, which is the new custodial manager, we're trying to keep up on that, because habits, old habits come back quick. So that is a tough challenge for us right now. Some of the construction projects that we were, it's kind of a thing that we do here, also project manage it, kind of behind the scenes. Because the other company comes in, they do their thing, and we gotta come in and tell them where this is at, or where to shut this off, or, we know the buildings. So we come in and tell them how to do what they need to do, which is always tough, because when you have many different people calling you daily, I go to schools back and forth all day long. Right now we're at the high school daily. Because we're having a lot of issues there, because we have 2 games here in a couple days. And, they gotta be clean and ready to go, and water has to be on. One of the things here, as you can see, the one on the left is the sink. Sedesco actually, I installed that. It wasn't part of the scope. When we got talking with the contractor, he was like, it's not part of my scope, what's gonna happen? I said, you know what, I'm gonna put it in. We went ahead and put in that whole sink system there, all new piping, all new water, and got it running for him. And we did it in 2 days. So that's the type of things that we do at Sedesco, is try to keep things moving in the construction projects. I'm a licensed plumber, so it was easy. Next one was this courtyard here. This one was fun. There was roots in the way. There was a sewer system that was literally plugging up on us. We had to get pumped out. We had no idea, because all what they did kind of went into the sewer area, kind of lifted it up a little bit. So we had that pumped out and cleaned. Water lines were in here that we didn't know were even in there. And that's the type of things we do in these construction projects. We just are always there. I get 15 phone calls a day on these projects. But this is what it looks like today. And we were impressed with it. We were happy with it. I walked in and did a punch list with it. That's beautiful. You gotta admit. The football field construction, before it was just, the rain was so tough on us, it rained us out daily. We actually got tractors stuck where we were out helping. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with these construction projects that no one sees. And that's what we're here to tell you is, man, there's just so much that happens in these construction projects. But look at it today. Our biggest thing now is the powder puff, and the game is this week, putting a fence all the way around that, because we didn't get a fence around it in time. So right now we've got a fence all the way around that, trying to figure out flow, how to get, because we know everybody's coming to see this field, just look at it. How to get people to flow one way and stay in those areas and off that field. You have a huge field with no fence around it, there's very many entry points. There is a fence going along the north side right now, which is going to help out, down there towards CTMS. That's going to help out, keep people coming in that back way. And we have a fence all the way around it right now. My guys were out putting up orange fence from the zigzag all the way back to the trees to keep people on that side, and we're just going to flow them one way down. So that's the stuff that Sedesco does. There's your weed problem. This is actually right there by the stadium. We had to get off the tractor, and it took us days to get this cleared. I had 3 guys working on this daily, and myself, trying to get these weeds to knock down. Here's some of the floor stuff. Our new custodial manager knows the floors, the wood floors, very well. We are actually doing the wood floors now. He just did this about 2 weeks ago, as you can see. And we're going to keep those up. The district's going to do the smaller gym, and we're going to probably just keep it up where it looks like that. You can see yourself in that. Here's the other one's Calabasas, and the other one is also Calabasas. And this is the type of things we're doing with these floors, taking them to where you can pretty much eat off that floor. I'm proud of those floors. Here's some of my staff. This is stuff that we do. This is waxing the floor, CTMS. That's Eddie over there. He's wiping down the cobwebs that get up on some of the windows we have around here. And this, I'm going to go into our School Do CMS system. The School Do, this thing offers such a great workflow for us. It's easier usable. You can actually create a work order right off your phone. We're going to start launching that out here pretty soon. We're already got it, Sedesco has already launched it out. We're using it. So I'm going to take it out to the principals, take it out to whoever else needs it. So much easier to take a picture, type it in, you've got yourself a work order. It's really user-friendly, I would say. The other system we had was not so much user-friendly. This one gives me better reports. They have a 1-800 number I can call and say, hey, where are we at? How do I do this? It's a really good system. Right now I'm working on getting everything in there to where you'll have every piece of equipment you have here will be in that system. And we'll be able to pull up a PM, see when it was worked on. You can add notes to this system, which is nice. If you made a work order, I can add a note in it. You can actually look up your work order. It says a note that says, hey, we ordered parts on this date. This is where it's at, and I'm training my staff to do that. So it's working out pretty good. Right now we've done, since it started up, we've completed 421 out of 485 service requests. That's 86% completion rate. That's actually at 524, I checked this morning. So I mean, you can actually check what we're doing, how we're doing it, and where we're going. I'm excited about this system. This is a nice system. Some of the contract summary. In 2021, your contract repair limit was $1,000. The new one was, we kicked it up to $1,500, we thought, me and Billy, thought that this would help fix some of the HVAC repairs that we have, because that cost was creeping, because we actually tracked it. And we could see where it was going, because they put in, they seem new, because everybody remembers when they were put on, but they were 5, 6 years old. We're starting to get into that, repairs are coming. Last year, in 2020, the district spent $5,200 in a 3-month period. And 2021 to now, you guys haven't spent a dime. We have fixed them all. Matter of fact, we've had a problem over here at this school here at CTMS with the heat problem. He figured it out. He's actually went in there, found a board that was behind everything that was failing, and he's going to fix it, and the heat problem will be fixed over at CTMS. We've been working on this thing for a year. I've had contractors out here. It's just, I pulled my hair out for this problem. He fixed it one day, so he's good.
So this is a great advantage of having a resident HVAC tech. Because when you're paying for these folks to come in by the hour and they're coming down from Tucson, you don't necessarily get somebody that can sit there and ponder and think about some of these other issues. It's not always swapping out parts. Sometimes it's wiring, sometimes it's a switch. Alan's done a great job, and I mean, we couldn't be more proud of somebody that we were able to hire. We were able to hire him within the budget that we thought we could, which I was a little bit worried about when we were looking at
both worried about it.
Pull talent from Tucson and stuff like that. And he actually lives here and he went to school here.
Yeah.
So, we got somebody local, and that was a great success for at least starting in both those two positions. The custodial manager and the HVAC tech were hired prior to the start of the contract. So we were able to, once we went through the rebid and knew that we were working toward getting the contract signed, we immediately started recruiting for these two positions, and it paid off, and it was good, because it's been a bit blessing.
And we all live here. So, we're actually not Rio Rico people. The best part about the HVAC technician thing is I had 3 contractors that I used, and I was juggling. I mean, you think that heat time is where you do all your HVAC. These are heat pumps. In the cold, you get the same problem, because it's just turns in reverse. So I've literally had to juggle 3 contractors. With Alan, it's like, hey Alan, why don't you head on over to CTMS or Calabasas and fix that? There's no, I can be there tomorrow, or I can be there the next day. It's fixed right away. So that's another one of the advantages of having HVAC.
And we could suffer kind of some of the same issues that we've heard. HVAC parts are very hard to find, and because we do live in the South, and you guys live in the Southwest, which is the very hot part, a lot of the circuit boards and a lot of the compressors, a lot of the fan motors and stuff like that are very, very hard to find. And matter of fact, I've talked to some folks and they actually got technicians now that run around and find them everywhere they can. So I think right now we've got a good stock. We're able to do it, and part of the new PM system that we're putting in, which we have all the assets, is that will give us a kind of a window as to what parts we need, what filters we need on what schedule, so that we can start planning this stuff out, not 30 days into the future, but 6 months, possibly even a year. Because as we heard today, 6 months from now, I think we're still going to be struggling with trying to figure out what's the next hurdle we got to jump as a
And me being here, I've actually built a storeroom full of parts. And we have it logged in a book. We're doing it by book now. We're gonna put it into this system for when you pull from the system, it'll pull right out of my stock, and it's gonna be, and it tracks everything. So I built this big, huge stock room that we did, because I kind of felt what was gonna happen. Nothing worse than looking for a fan motor for 2 days or 6 months or whatever. I mean, you never know. That's all I had. You have any questions?
Mr. Beach?
No, thank you for all you do. I was wondering, this school dude CMS system, does it track, like, you plug in, you're gonna say all the chairs, all the equipment, does that give you an estimated date when we're gonna have to replace these things, like a 5-year date?
Yes, it does.
Date?
It does. You can get modules for this that can open up all those type of things.
That way, as a board, we budget, in
Yeah.
5 years, we're gonna need this amount of equipment and stuff, so.
Yeah, and as we're putting it in, the assets right now, I'm actually doing expected life and putting in what I know, dates of when they were installed, so I can kind of, because you can actually watch that piece of equipment. Okay, it got filter changes here, it got this part here. It'll actually pull that asset and tell you it's been repaired 16 times. Well, in my world, that's something's more wrong than just we need to either replace it or,
And to your point, there's another program that we use, VFA software, that actually tracks your physical assets, so like your paint and your tile and stuff like that, and then that gives us the ability to kind of predict that replacement schedule that you're talking about. And that's a different process. That's what we call a 5-year plan. And then we update that, and then this new software this next generation of software that we just installed actually gives us the ability to kind of predict pricing. So you can go through and say, hey, if it's going to be at 5% a year, 10% a year, what's it look like in 2026? And it does give us the opportunity when we work with Dr. Lindeville to say, hey, these are parts and pieces that need to be replaced in the next 5 years. We can look at it and see if we can move it forward, backward, kind of depending on budgets and time frame.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Ms. Foley?
I so appreciate your professionalism. I just feel really good about the work that you all are doing.
and I'll tell you the truth, I'm excited where we're heading. I mean, we've got a good, we've been here 5 years and we were heading up, and I was like, okay, where do we go from here? And I think this is our next step to get to where, other districts will come and go, wow, we don't look like this. And that's where I'm heading anyway, so that's always.
Mr. Hayes?
Thank you. So 5 years, so I guess that's why you think this one was record-setting in Monson. Not even close. Maybe the third wettest in my tenure doing the flood.
Well, when you can look at a window and watch a weed grow, there's some rain falling.
I've never seen that sitting there.
Well, and I will tell you, I live in Washington State, the evergreen state, and the last time I was here, it was actually greener here in Rio Rico than it was in Washington. So you guys, that record setting was probably my language in there, because you should have heard him whining when he was calling. He goes, "You wouldn't believe how much rain we got." And I'm like, okay.
One question though, based on what you were saying about the lines that you were finding at CTMS, I'm hoping that you guys map those out and put that information somewhere safe so that somebody in the future knows that those lines are there, so we don't have where did these lines come from again?
I even have a map for the fire too. So if you called me and said, hey, this is turned on, tell me the area, the map tell you exactly where it's at.
Great, yeah, because I know that locating lines is a bit of an issue here. We had an issue several years ago where Quest put in a fiber optic cable, and a year later, ADOT was doing a project project to hit the cable 3 times
Yeah.
because it was not where Quest said it was.
I even mapped out, I'm currently mapping out emergency lights. Because we never, somebody says, emergency lights out, yeah, we have 300 of them, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez?
Well, are you guys responsible for collecting all the trash on the campuses?
Yes.
You guys, I was just wondering, do you guys have larger containers for the high school? Because I was told that we had larger ones on the way.
We don't supply the trash cans, larger as in,
Well,
For
the reason
what
I ask
area?
is that the last time I walked down there, I went through the campus, the receptacles are like, the trash cans are like about this tall, and the kids stacked up
I
the
know.
trash.
I saw that
this
today.
high, above it, all over the campus, on every courtyard, and a little breeze came along and the stuff was blowing.
I saw that
It's
today at
such
the
a
high
beautiful
school.
school, and I hate to see that when I walk through, so that's why I'm asking. Because I
Yeah.
heard that we had bigger ones and that they were gonna come, that's what I heard.
Yes, it's nothing I've heard, but I saw it today, kind of, because I called my staff and said, hey, who's cleaning here, because we've got trash overflowing.
It's not on the kids,
Yeah, it's just, it's not enough.
So,
And part of it we have
We have one lunch,
student,
yes.
and then we have one lunch, but all that, Mr. Estrada explained some of that.
Yeah, so we did purchase 10 more trash cans and they're here and they
see, I
are,
thought I heard something.
yeah,
like that.
and they are the 55-gallon drum.
Oh, okay.
So, and we disperse them throughout campus, because with our one lunch, we have kids eating throughout campus. And so, yeah, there was an issue in August, and then we got the supplies in.
In all fairness to you too, I think that this had been done before I had walked on, there's like, you guys got that in your mind.
Yeah,
And I
So-
just want to follow through, because I
yeah.
just want to make sure that the school looks really nice, it's such a beautiful facility.
Yeah, so since we put the 10 new 55-gallon drums in, it's been good.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. The other thing I was going to ask you is about these HVAC contracts that you have, and you mentioned Tucson. Do we try to hire people here? Do we try to give the contracts here?
Well,
That's an issue.
we
And
were using a company.
Excuse me, we as a governing board are held responsible, like Mr. President says, with regard to this. And despite the fact that we now have single digits for unemployment in Santa Cruz County, it's still high.
Yeah, we were using Santa Cruz, which is another air conditioning, and another company here. We were using 2 here and 1 out of Phoenix, or excuse me, out of Tucson. With Alan, we don't need it anymore. We don't, Alan is on staff. He comes in the morning, he has his work orders set out for him, he's off and running. So that stopped all that, which is, that's a lot of help.
Yeah, and I hope you didn't misunderstand the concept I started was competing with Tucson was basically pulling talent, because Tucson pulls all the talent that way because that's where the big money is. And so we were really successful in being able to pull Allen back and get him local. So that was kind of
Well,
what.
you said the word north, and so we're a little sensitive.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, thank you so, appreciate it, thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Billy, for showing up. We appreciate that.
Well, I was in Nashville this morning, so,
Welcome
you know,
down.
a little greener there.
And certainly, and actually, you guys have, Sodexo's been with us 10 years, if I remember right, because
Yes, sir.
10 years ago, the board took a big hit bringing, not just Sodexo, but bringing somebody from the outside, because there was a recall for that. So some of us are obviously looking at saying, hey, there's some expectations for you guys continued. Not that there's undue pressure on that, I'm just saying is, I'm sure you like the competition anyway. And hopefully you have enough trash bags for these new barrels.
I do right now, yes I do.
Because,
You
you
should
know-
see how much toilet paper I have, you don't
Yeah.
even want to know.
Well-
It's just, when you feel that, you start moving, and that's what we did.
And I've got 3 more questions because I brought up 8 points back in July, and I already checked them off. So you've already covered those. I guess the
Okay.
last 3 is, dragging the baseball field, is that going to be done? Because
Yes.
it's just softball field.
Yeah.
So baseball field's in there, good, you already contacted Jim Flores, all that. Let's see, what was the other one that I have here? The back was you locked. Oh, window washing above 6 feet.
And we have talked about that, and we just, if it's above 6 feet, it can get on the ladder. And so the contract does say it does say 6 feet.
Right.
But we're gonna say, hey, if you get on a ladder safely, you can clean above that. So everybody's on board with that, so that's what we've been doing.
Our typical process across our whole region is basically what a custodian can get off of a 6-foot ladder, which basically means your feet come off, 4 feet off the ground, and then they can reach as high. We clean windows as high as 30 feet. It's just we don't do it on a daily basis, and we're not equipped to do it. So, like for example, you guys have the wonderful glass over there at the high school.
Right to the behind you.
Yeah. So that would be cleaned. Now, we wouldn't clean the whole top of that like every single day or something. The custodians typically do what they can reach. But twice a year, we try to clean that. During the Christmas break, and then during the summertime, we go as our project cleaning. And like I say, when it comes to the high windows, especially like you're talking about the high school where you've got, I don't know how tall those things are, 45 feet foot up. I mean, we've got the poles and stuff, we can get whatever we can get. And then we will actually clean them higher than that. It's just it requires equipment, and sometimes we have to rent a lift or something to be able to get up to those higher windows. So
Well, you're telling me you guys do it?
Oh, yes.
Well, that's all, yeah.
And I actually bought extension,
Oh, yeah.
I bought extension for the staff, and they can get up there.
And the last one was interior painting.
Okay, that would, we do touch-up, we wouldn't do interior painting. That doesn't say we don't do interior painting. There's a lot of times where I'll just say, touch-up looks like a cheetah just lived in there. I tell my staff just to hit the whole thing.
Like
Yes,
this,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That would-
We're fixing all these cracks.
Was that considered a touch-up to you?
No, that's a patch that we just did, and he's gonna repaint this whole entire room. But it is
Okay,
a
there it
touch-up.
is. Right, but then you just answered the question again.
Yeah.
So there.
Well, we would come and paint this when you guys are gone. We wouldn't come, we just touch this up, and in summertime, I sit with Melissa, and we lay out a list, and she'll say, I want here, 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 and that's what we want to do.
So interior painting, you
Yeah.
just answered yes. Again, thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's it, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, the governing board may vote to move in executive session pursuant to ARS 38-43-0383 for discussion, consultation, or legal advice with attorney or attorneys of public body. Do I hear a motion to convene the executive session in room 125, district office conference room?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. All right, passed 5-0, very good.
Okay, let's see.
Take over?
I have a neon greenish shirt that I could return. Oh, it's, I found it. We're farmers tomorrow. Oh, we can do one. Now. Yes.
So just a reminder, we're still live.
I have flannel jeans. I have I can bring them in the morning if you want my other one. They're, I know, that's the thing. They're Carhartt ones. I know. To be a farmer? I don't know, give a toothpick. Oh, yeah, that's what you do. That's a toothpick. Big. Hey. Just don't want to dump it.
You can't reconvene when you got a quorum.
Well, thank you, Susan. So we were just talking about.
Just saying,
I know, Superintendent was just actually telling me that.
great minds think alike.
Yeah. All right, is there a motion to reconvene the regular session?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion second. Any further discussion about coming back? Hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like 5-0. All right. We're back in to Superintendent's report. That's great, right at that time. All right.
Perfect timing. You're right on the money. Just a few items. Wanted to recognize that we have principal reports. So now that we are back in person, the principals will be here at the meeting. So when we get to that section, if you do have questions for Peter or their designee, and tonight, Ms. Loretta could not make it, so we have Ms. Tony Ann Shadler, who is here. And then for Mr. Jackson, we have Ms. Heather Faley, who's represented here as well. So I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the principals for being here tonight. Wanted to congratulate Dr. Lunderville and all of the safety groups from our county that participated in the safety program at the former resort, where they were able to all come together and do some actual live action. Our students were able to participate. Thank Shannon for being there to video and take pictures of the whole event. So it was a big event for our district, and I think that we'll have a presentation from Dr. Linderville and the team just to share with the board, because it was such a big event over multiple days. And so again, it was great for our students to be able to have that emergency response law enforcement experience and live to see what it would be like in a real live event. So it was just again, thank you to Dr. Linderville for working with the team to organize that. Then the PAC ceremony on Thursday, I know Mr. Shaw is ready to go. His team will actually have some student performance, so we hope that the board will be able to attend. Homecoming again on Friday. Wanted to mention, I know Mr. Ramirez has always been very supportive about the archives of our photos and things in the history of our, not only our high school, but our district in general. So we're working with Shannon to have a call out to all of the groups that have the history to start an archive and web page, part of our web page that will receive all of the photos, articles, and things that we can all put in there and start doing like a Throwback Thursday, send out some stuff on our social media just to recognize the history of our district. So I want to thank Shannon for that. And also, I was working on a newsletter. Not only we talked about the newspaper, we're starting with an electronic version, and having a newsletter, but we're also going to involve students, and we want to start to have not only our district newsletter, but kind of a Riverville community, two-back community, but a Santa Cruz Valley newsletter that will get stories from the community as well, so that we can get our students participating and do some video with that as well, possibly, so to kind of have our own news for our district, so which is a great thing. So I want to thank Shannon for that as well. I participated in my first live West Ed board meeting, and I was one of the presenters. So my first meeting, and then they throw me in there to present. And so it was a great opportunity to use what I think I shared with the board called the decision data, where they have data from all different census points. And if we increase our graduation rate, what does it do to our local economy? And so it was a very, very positive thing. I got a lot of feedback about the strength of our school district, which was, they said that I need to go on a national tour to talk about our district because of all the things that our district has accomplished, despite what some people think is negative demographics. You know, talk about dual language and other things. So it was very nice to share that and get the feedback from that group about how positive they feel about what we're doing in our district. So it was, again, just a validation of what we do in our district. So I just wanted to share that with the board. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Governing board member report, Mr. Beach.
Let's see, just kudos to all these bond projects that are getting done. I know with the principals, and they're looking out in their courtyard, and you got shovels and piles of dirt. Finally to see some grass over there, that's good. Good to see that. Looking forward to the ribbon cutting ceremony this coming Thursday, and homecoming on Friday. Hopefully I can make that one. And just a shout out to Mr. Ramirez, who became a grandfather today. So kudos to you. And that's all I got. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Mr. Hayes?
Nothing much to report, just looking forward to the opening of the PAC on Thursday, the homecoming game on Friday, and I know that in about 2 weeks we'll start seeing cross-country for state, hopefully. So thank you.
All right. Ms. Fogan?
Yeah, really looking forward to the two things this week. I think that is just super. I'm sure that the turnouts will be excellent. Will you be a Papa or a Gramps or?
Like grandpa.
And the principal reports,
There's some people.
Calabasas, Colamunde, the high school, San Cayetanos, just excellent as always. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Ramirez, I mean, what's the in German?
Großvater. Opa.
Opa.
Yeah, no, Miss Fobian, my sister-in-law, she doesn't like the idea of being called grandma. You know, she doesn't want to be old. So her name is Julie, so she has her grandchildren call her Jules. Maybe I should call that one mine, call her Reds or something. But thank you, you guys. I appreciate that very much. But I come back to what you said. I too look forward to it, guys, like you do. I think it's so exciting to go to this ceremony. We've waited a long time to see the results of all this, and I'm sure the community is really excited. And wow, Mr. Estrada, you always just go out there, you do your best to level best to get us those invites out right away and stay on top of stuff. You like superintendent, don't let the grass grow under your feet, which is great. So thank you, sir. And that whole idea, having that screen with being able to show all the pictures of the things that are the history of our schools, that's just awesome. I'm so excited about that because I remember one night, I think it was Steve and I were talking about how, you can house hardware for a while, but when the schools are really cranking it out, and like in wrestling and cross country and all the different things that we've done over the years, and John basketball, just all kinds of stuff, academics, you just can't, there's not enough room. You could try to build a building that houses that stuff. It just gets to be overwhelming. I worked out on Oneonta High School once. It's now called Oregon Mountain High School because they don't want to call it after Don Juan de Oñate anymore, to be politically correct, so they changed it because he was a conquistador or something, but at any rate, I'd invite you to go over there, because when they built the school, it was, I think it cost them like $22.5 million, close to what it cost to build this facility originally. They built trophy cases galore to try to house all the hardware, from state championships and all kinds of stuff. And they were overwhelmed. They thought that they had enough for, 20 years or something, but they were overwhelmed right away. So this provides us with the wherewithal to be able to constantly honor people who have done great things, whether they're in sports or in academics. And we can, as Mr. Redugo said, we have themes. You can do Halloween theme, Christmas theme. You can do all kinds of stuff. A throwback theme, to different. You could have individual sports too. You'd have all kinds of really neat things, and so you could constantly showcase all the great things, all the magnificent things that athletes and students have done academically as well, from here to eternity, which is cool. Of course, you'd have to trim it down after a while, but it's great because one day, our bones will be bleaching in the sun, and there'll still be all kinds of records going on for things that are going on in the high school. So I think we're in the vanguard when you really stop to think about it. Look around. What other school has this? It's going to do this. So hats off to you. Mr. Gu was an idea, and you ran with it, and I'm also very grateful to my colleagues here that they ran with it too, and it's awesome. It's really great to serve with you guys, because I think we're doing really good things here. So thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you to all the principals again for doing such a fine job up to these. We're going on, 6 more weeks left almost, right? 7 weeks? Yep. Good job, principals. Good. We're glad to have you back. Hopefully by a short time we'll be all like this again. And we'll actually give hugs like Mr. Ramirez wanted to do right now. So thank you to all the principals. Welcome back again. Thank you for coming in, certainly. No. I also want to thank our other state attorney generals. There were 14 of them that crafted a letter to the National School Board Association concerning themselves of what has been transpired from the letter from the National School Boards to Garden regarding parents. Pennsylvania and 3 other states actually pulled out of the National School Board Association. Well, with that came a letter from the National School Board Association dated October 22nd. On behalf of this, we regret and apologize for that letter. So sometimes positiveness comes out from other states saying that, the parents were not considered, as in that letter, I think they said terrorism was the word used. But thank you to the states. Our state didn't really participate, but still the fact that 99.999% of our parents wouldn't even have fit into that letter that was categorizing parents across the country.
Right.
So I think that was really unfair, because our parents are probably the best group of parents in this state. And those of us that moved in here 30-some years ago as an employee, that's what kept me here, because of the parents and the families that lived here. So, and unfortunately there's a movement, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, there's a movement in the state. It's now called the Arizona Coalition of School Board Members. There's another organization that's trying to get themselves off the ground to compete with the ASBA. Where that goes, who knows? But that is a movement right there. So we'll see on that. And also, I was reading about the 301, and certainly I know our business manager will keep us abreast on that, certainly, because it's the 20-year expiration to that, and it caps funding and spending. So certainly keep us abreast on that, because that's important, again, for us with budget, which you do. And I'm just bringing that up, again, from what I've read in that. And again, thank you all. And Hector, yes, especially to you. Certainly, when the principal left from the person that you took over for, it's like, oh gosh, what are we going to get? The way I look at it is, we took a step back to get 3 steps forward, and you are those 3 steps. Truly, you truly are, and you're doing a wonderful job over there. And I hear, I'm not always able to attend events because we have family and whatever, married things like that. But certainly, you hear it in the community. So with that, I'm saying you have exceeded those standards that people were scared that, oh my gosh, what's this guy gonna be like? This young guy, this energetic guy, what's he gonna do? Well, you've proven yourself. Now, hopefully that we get that to an A school academically too. So, and I'm not singling him out, I'm just singling him out because that has been brought up, and certainly.
Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. And you principals, welcome back, because I guarantee I'll give you accolades too. Not that my accolades mean anything, but certainly. Because it is homecoming week, he deserves it, and he is the sharp-dressed man, like ZZ Top said.
Like Great Gatsby.
So, anyway, thank you. All right, moving on now. Number 4, ASBA Policy Advisor, GCH. This is for Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. So policy change has changed with, if you look at the policy, it just updated some of the legislative changes. So it has been vetted, and so the recommendation is to approve as presented.
Yes.
Any questions?
Any questions? That's the whole thing. Any questions, Mr. Beach?
No question.
Mr. Hayes?
No questions.
Ms. Fogan?
No questions.
Mr. Ramirez?
I have none, thank you.
I have none either. All right. Do I hear a motion to adopt the policy by the GCH Professional Support Staff Orientation and Training recommended by the International School Board Association, ASBA, as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Aye. I'll decipher that as all 5 of us voted. It is a 5-0 vote. All right. Move on to subject B. ASBA letter and county director update. Mr. Verdugo will start this off.
Good, thank you. So again, the board approved sending a letter to ASBA, so I wanted to notify the board that we did receive confirmation that they received the letter. And ASBA President Ann O'Brien said that they will place it on their agenda at the next quarterly meeting for discussion. I don't know what that means, I don't know, but again, they will have it on their agenda for discussion, so we did receive notification of that. And also wanted to let you know that Mr. Kramer, is continuing in support of Ms. Brown and our employee, and also our entire ASBA community, because as I mentioned before, Ms. Brown was instrumental in saving not only our district, but many districts needed funding. And so that was one of her main jobs as part of being an ASBA trustee. Communicated with the county director. The county director did not send the information to the other districts in our county. And we felt that was obviously her role and responsibility to, if we sent something to her, not to have a opinion of whether she supported her or not, but just to send it to the other districts. So that Mr. Kramer had sent it to the other districts on our behalf. Which was part of our letter acknowledging, again, support. So, Mr. Kramer, if you have any other
I'll
comments
just say
or
that,
questions?
thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Yes, you saw the chain of letters, I think that he attached that. And as you see that, I said it wasn't about personal opinion, more just getting to let the boards decide, just like all of us decide in this room. I did, Nogales asked either David or David couldn't make it, Mr. Verdugo couldn't make it, so I went in his place for NUSD yesterday. They moved it up to the first item to discuss it. They thanked us for doing this. Dr. Verona had some good words to say about support of that, not only for ASBA, but what ASBA does, how they save money, what they do for the teaching staff, what they do for the instructional staff, both health benefits. One of the gentlemen said it's important that we keep representation, which we had lost because we don't have Santa Cruz or Pima County represented. Cochise has 3. Great, but they voted 5-0 to support it and send the letters up forward like we did as well to ASBA. And if anything else, they said, let Mr. Verdugo and the rest of your board members know if there's anything else we can do to continue supporting this, we will be there. And they asked about that chain of letters. I explained a little bit about that as well, to just give them an update about it. they pretty much concurred like this, saying, yes, it should have been dispersed to the other districts. At least let them decide yes or no, but at least get that information. That's the, I think that's about the update that we just wanted, because you guys want, we voted on that, how we did it, and I wanted to get an update of what NUSD did and the channel letters.
So, any questions that I can answer? Mr. Hayes?
The letters did not CC the other districts nor the county director. So when we voted on it, we weren't voting to send it to those. So I'm a little concerned about, did we change things?
No. So it was just sharing that information with the rest of them.
We agreed that I was gonna get it to the county, we were gonna get it to the county director. The county director refused to send it.
I thought we agreed it would go to the county
County
director.
director.
Right, I did.
With no anticipation of what we
Decided,
felt she should
right.
do.
Well, we were gonna share it with her to disperse it.
To share with the other districts, not to again make a decision, just to share with districts.
And then she informed us that that really wasn't her role, and she felt she was being bullied into something she did not want
Right.
to do.
Right. Concurred. That's what she said. No? All right. There's information, there we go. Move on to item C, COVID-19 update.
Thank you. So this is another item with the, I know the big question again, as we discussed at last board meeting, was whether we would require vaccines. So we've been taking it to our leadership team to invite Dr. Linderveld to come up. We also working with Mike Bosa in looking at, again, a policy change. And so in discussion with our leadership team, and we've also sent some information out to staff, looking at, I know Dr. Linderveld's talked to the association president to kind of get some feedback from that as well. And what we're recommending is to just add the COVID vaccine to our current policy. And what that policy states is that if, like the other vaccines, either you have it if you choose not to, for whatever reason, that if something does occur, then you will take leave, unpaid, or if you, or use up your personal leave at that time. So we're not requiring, but we will then identify every individual that has it, so that if something does occur at a site, then that person would then just be required to take leave or again be unpaid at that time. So, Dr. Miller, if you want to add anything.
Sure. I didn't know. I was waiting to say something. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Verdugo was correct. One other area that we would add is having employees who have chosen not to be fully vaccinated test weekly. Essentially it's, you can get vaccinated or you can test weekly, but there is not any sort of additional requirement for those who are unvaccinated. I didn't know if you had any questions before I moved on to the other categories, but we'll bring a recommendation and all of the different groups and their feedback that we have solicited over the past 4 weeks.
And that would be, again, the policy that we would just adopt on our next meeting on November 9th. And again, the board may choose to not require testing. I mean, those are things that, that you could decide as a board. You could just say, okay, we'll add it to our policy as an additional vaccine, and then everybody required to at least notify us whether they have it or not, and then that could be it. So again, we'll bring that to the board for discussion
And Ms. Wolbritt has also reviewed our proposed recommendations up to this point. She's our attorney.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Hayes?
I'm perfectly fine with it, thank you.
Mr. Beach?
I personally don't like it myself, with adding the COVID or any mandate of being tested. You know, I think every individual can decide for themselves with their doctor. I think if they look at the data, if I was a 22-year-old teacher, saw the CDC, I got probably a 0.003 thousandth of a chance of being a fatality. I can make a decision whether I want to go with that vaccine or not. It is a new vaccine. I know the test wasn't as rigorous as other vaccines. So just my thinking right now is just leave the policy as is. If they get sick, use up their sick days just like anything else. And you know, if they go beyond the sick days, that they can get donations from other teachers if that's the policy. But right now, that's just my train of thought. You know,
Yes, the thing that this would not require.
Yeah.
It would just be that we would identify who has it, and it would fall under our regular vaccine policy. Noted, so thank you.
Ms. Logan?
I really am of two minds. I truly see your point, and sadly this weekend I ran into way too many employees. So, I mean, I understand that HR requested copies of everybody's vaccine card, and if it's not a requirement, why would we do that? I had no answer. I mean, I just directed them to their site because the principal was going to have
Because we
it.
can't ask now. So
Okay.
that has been
Okay.
approved legally, so
Okay.
so it allows us to know, again, for the data reasons, so like, you know, who has it, who hasn't, so we can, again, make an informed decision.
I thought we had to have that information because we've given percentages of how many staff.
We had, I have never reported that it's an actual percentage because there was a point in which we were no longer allowed to collect that information. But when we were afforded the ability to do so, we made that decision to go ahead and ask. The other thing that it impacts too is that if you are fully vaccinated and come in contact with an individual who tests positive for COVID-19, the quarantine is different. The amount of time that people may or may not have to isolate. Right now, if you do not have symptoms and you are fully vaccinated, there is not a need for us to send you home. You're able to stay and work. And all of you are aware of the challenges that we have, so knowing that information allows the contact tracer, which is myself, to figure out how many people we're going to send home. One case at one point in the district was impacting us up. It's a 5 times situation. So you have one teacher or staff member who is, contracted or tested positive. All of the contacts that they had that were considered close contacts, then we had the quarantine for 14 days. On average, it was 5 additional, so you can imagine what it looked like back at this time last year.
So that it allows us to, from a data standpoint, to know who has, so that we can make those decisions.
Right, yeah, no, and really I referred them to their site administrators or principals if you get a whole lot of people asking, because I had no answer.
And we have not had anyone contact that I'm aware of. HR would handle any of their questions about privacy and such, and to my knowledge, we didn't have any. I don't know. We received it. I don't know if Julieta has commented that she received any concerns with getting that.
Not that I'm aware of.
And the other one is that somebody told me that all the other districts provide the name of the person who has tested positive, and our district doesn't. And people should know so that they could determine whether they had contact or not. I said, that sounds like a HIPAA violation to
You're
me.
correct. You're 100% correct. So if another district's doing that, that's their choice.
You had a right answer.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Just question,
Mhm.
what if you've had COVID?
I did ask that question, and it will be a question that's posed at the forum. I can do my best to explain it the way that Dr. Williams explained it to me on Friday, or if you want to ask the question during the forum, it will be asked during the forum. Essentially, COVID plays no bearing in it according to him, but I would prefer if he, explained why, because there's
Yeah, I'm not putting you in that spot.
molecules and stuff, but
Right.
I did ask the question. I know the questions also come up, if you've had both vaccines and had COVID, do you need the booster? Those are the things that, we'll cover next week, when we schedule the forum. And those are the types of questions that I'm asking, and then if there'll be an opportunity also for anyone to ask questions. But I was guiding it based off of a lot of the questions that we've received.
In addition to this, on top of those, there was one question that we heard about incentives, and actually, we already have an incentive for staying with the district, that we are paying for longevity to stay throughout the year. And also, from what I've ascertained talking to other, that the incentives have not worked, has not had, in fact, it's the opposite. So, people have not, really tried to get the incentive. Either they were already vaccinated, or they still chose not to. So have not really had a strong data points.
And Dr. Williams and Dr. Pereira can also share that, how individuals who have chosen thus far not to be vaccinated, what research is out there on that? Like, are there things that helps people make a decision, yes or no? Is there information that we need to provide so that people can make an informed decision? But hopefully they will do a much better job than I would have explaining the science behind that.
And again, that's one of the reasons that we were very fortunate to have that relationship with Dr. Williams and Dr. Bennett, to have a medical professional that will answer questions. And so we're very fortunate that they will be holding that forum with us again. We've had it already, I believe, 2 times that we've had them in, but again, it does put people at ease, or at least they can answer those questions. They still may not want to get the vaccine, or may want to, it's a personal choice, but it's something that we feel is important to have as much information as possible. And then just also, the other COVID-19 protocol is still in place, so we're continuing with the masking that we had in place. We feel that at West End there was some people from all over different western states and were asking about that, and I told them what our policy was, and they said that's a very common sense approach that they were going to take back to their districts and to their university. So it was something I felt confident that, again, we worked through and tried to do what's best for our community, our students, and our community in general. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say that with the Moderna vaccine, I read that the FDA only approved it for people that are 65 and older, and I think they're only giving them half of the dosage.
In terms of the booster, we've already started scheduling the booster. The FDA, on Friday, there was about 25 of us that received the booster here on site. Our staff have all been given the link to get their booster. We have a number of individuals who have already had theirs or are scheduled to have theirs in the next 2 weeks. And we have authorized staff to take school leave, not their personal leave, to go ahead and get the booster.
Well, that was very recent news. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Right. Moderna and Pfizer can be intertwined. So if you had
I read that as
Moderna,
well.
Moderna the first time, you can have Pfizer for your booster. They've approved that. I have not heard anything about only giving Moderna to 65 and older, but
That's
I
what
received
read.
it on
I'm
Friday.
positive about it. The FDA approved it for people that are 65 and older.
I
Only for
received it
them.
Friday.
And that they only get a half the dosage they got originally.
I,
Positive with that.
I can ask, again, we can have that question for the doctors, but I got Moderna Friday.
And
so
I heard that, I did hear what you said, I read about that too, that those people that did get the Moderna can get the Pfizer. So I don't know how that all works out with regard to this rule, but I do know for sure that FDA only approved it for people over 65 and older. And people, of course, that have compromised immune systems as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Our doctors
I can ask.
look
I
at
don't-
that, so.
I just know that we had the regular booster of Moderna on Friday.
6 months.
It's 6 months after
Yes.
your second dose of your
Right.
vaccine. Those individuals are eligible. And the science questions, we can.
The FDA hasn't approved it for people 65 and younger, not yet.
It was actually 65 and over, also anyone 18 and older, if they're at severe risk of COVID.
That's what I mentioned.
Or if they have frequent institutional or occupational exposure to it, so that would be
There are
like.
exceptions, right, yes.
Okay, so teachers, I would assume, would fall under that institutional.
Yeah, teachers and medical care providers and first responders, I believe they're on the initial list of that definition. Mr. Hayes?
I appreciate if you follow up on that.
I'll add it as a question.
Okay.
I guess I got another wondering about, if the policy goes through and our teachers don't get a booster shot, now will they have to, those that don't get a booster shot, are they gonna fall under being tested weekly?
It's, yeah, so again, that'll be up to you guys to decide whether you want to add the test weekly. So that's a conversation that we would have, so
But I'm saying, once, you're gonna need a booster eventually. So all those teachers say they don't wanna get a booster, and the numbers skyrocket a little bit. You know, if this new policy, will they also, if it passes, will they be required to get a booster, or?
we'd have to bring that back to the board.
Okay.
Yeah. because that was-
Isn't that the problem with the phrase fully vaccinated? That
Yeah.
now it is being enlarged to include a booster, which was what I was worried about.
I haven't received a definition that includes that as of yet. It just says a fully vaccinated person has completed the 2 series sequence of Moderna
Yeah.
or Pfizer, and then or 1 completed series of
Well,
Johnson & Johnson has a different name too, so it's whatever that name is.
I like our policy because, as you mentioned, it's not being forced, and Mr. Beach makes a great point, I want to echo it, which is that you can, and I've said this before, that you can attract more bees with honey than you can with vinegar. So we have to have respect for people's decisions and their families. They know best what's for their own kids and their own families.
Yeah, so again, this is only for teachers, so we'll have that. I just want to give you an update so that you know where we're at, that it's not a requirement at this point, so.
Well, I'm talking about the teachers.
Yeah.
And just one last data point, if I may, Mr. President. The data from the fall break has now been posted. You can look on the Department of Health Services website under the school piece. Positive cases are up from the week prior to fall break at 79 per 100,000 to 119. And the positivity rate prior to the fall break was, there was a 4.9% positivity rate, and it's up to 9.3. So that data continues to support that when our schools are open, the transmission rate seems to lessen. But that's just using that most recent data point. I don't have additional data points from the summer.
That's good.
And then the state is seeing exactly the same. If you look at the statewide data, most public schools had a break either the first, second week of October. They went from 79 per 100,000 to 119 per 100,000, and the positivity rate went up to 12.74. So that's all I have.
Stay in school.
You know?
Thank you,
Thanks,
thank you, Dr.
Dr.
Lunger. All right, subject B, proposed protest topic, policy dates and times for future board meetings. Mr. Hayes,
I'm currently good with the current list, thank you.
Mr. Beach. Same. Ms. Mobian,
Current list is good.
we gotta knock it out. Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, just the thing with the chess thing, we know that, I know for sure, having spoken to the state director, that it's not, the state tournament is not gonna be held online. It's gonna be held in
What's your
person.
topic,
The, but the one that I had mentioned before, which is,
It's on the agenda.
is it still on there?
It's on the agenda for approval.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Overnight
Okay,
stay?
I'm good, thank you.
Yep.
That killed that
Yes,
right
yeah.
there. Thank
that's
you.
what-
Thank you, sir.
Yes, all right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I just have one error on my board member report. Ms. Renteria, one of your substitute teachers, said that he had a fantastic time subbing at your school because one of your teachers left plans that I've always said you should, and he said it was every 5 minutes was written down. What is that telling you about the sub plans? He said it was the best 3 days he's ever had as a sub. So that's a message to each and every one, and what I used to preach to my teachers is sub plans are very important because it keeps the kids engaged, which hopefully he did because of that teacher. So, I just want to bring that out. Even though it wasn't, you can go get me afterwards. All right. All right, approval of consent agenda. Any matter of consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a regular agenda item upon the request of any board member. Any requests?
Oh,
All right, the action is approved, accept and ratify the consent agenda as presented. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion second. Any further discussion on this?
No, I'm just happy to see the chess team on it.
All right. No, that's good. Hey, all right.
Go, all
All
right,
right.
chess.
Any further discussion about other than chess? Hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
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 Aye. I didn't hear it.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay. It's 5-0, approved. With that said, governing board meeting evaluation. Mr. Beach, you look like you want to speak up.
I'm good.
Huh? Is it good? All
Yeah,
right.
everything's good.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any neutrals? Abstains?
Abstain.
4. Good. We have a motion to adjourn at this time, I'm sorry, at 7:18 PM.